In 1800, the Northwest Territory of the United States was divided by the Congress into two areas. The eastern part, the pending state of Ohio in 1803, and the western region, the Indiana Territory. Statehood for Indiana came in 1816. A place where Native Americans of various tribes collected themselves, and where buffalo and wolves roamed, soon was inhabited by Hoosiers, a term sometimes referring to backwoodsmen, countrymen, or just country bumpkins. Earlier, the eastern Indian groups had bunched up, along with the colonists, at the eastern edge of the Allegheny Appalachian Mountains. The Five Nations League of the Iroquois maintained a semblance of order and accommodation with the white man, although which European brand they bought into sometimes changed. The Cherokee and Shawnee and Lenape and many other groups of natives struggled to keep their version of composure further south. But in the 18th century, both tribal members and the colonists pushed across the Adirondacks and Great Lakes, across the Allegheny, Susquehanna, Shenandoah watersheds, and Cumberland Gap, into the Monongahela, Ohio River Valley, and slowly up the Mississippi-Missouri rivers into the sparsely cultivated and hunted heartland of America. Conflict, which had always dogged these neighbors, followed across the country. The nature of cultivation and hunting for sustenance began to change for commercialization. The great native migrations and settler expansions in North America tended to move inland from the east and west coasts, up the continent, and northward from Spanish missions and forts established in Mexico and Florida. Colonial soup. The white man-Indian mix in what are now the Canadian Maritimes, New England, and the Mid-Atlantic states like New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Virginia, and the Carolinas was especially blunt-edged and fluctuating. Because in the denser populated areas during the 17th century and afterward, the battles over politics and land cast the French against the British, colonists against colonists, Indians against Indians, and colonists against Indians. The great St. Lawrence and Hudson rivers offered fertile ground and convenient water routes to the fur-bearing timberlands of the Adirondack Mountains, and White and Green Mountains, Catskills, Berkshires, etc., and then on to the Great Lakes, a commercial battleground for decades between the natives, the French and British, and Dutch, Danes, Swedes, Scotch, Irish, Germans, and others. Adirondack may be a Mohawk Indian word, meaning eaters of trees. French missionary Joseph Francois Lafitau said the term Rontax was a derogatory term used by the Iroquoians. The Iroquois, or Haudenosaunee, meaning people of the Longhouses, claimed that their more numerous Algonquin neighbors who did not practice agriculture sometimes had to eat tree bark to survive the harsh winters of northern New York and New England. An English map from 1761 labels these areas deer hunting country. In 1837, the mountains were named Adirondacks by geologist Ebenezer Emmons. The Mohawk, Kayingahaga, and the Oneida, Oneadagahaga tribes, part of the Iroquois Confederacy, had claimed the Adirondack Mountains as hunting grounds, or the dish with one spoon, according to historian Rick Hill. A group of Algonquin people known as the Mohicans also occupied an area that stretched into the Hudson River Valley. These were the native groups that the first European explorers of the area encountered. Rapid European colonization followed a battle between Samuel de Champlain and Mohawks at a place now called Ticonderoga in 1609. From the Diary of Samuel, 1609. During the winter, many of our company were attacked by a certain malady called the mal de la terre, otherwise scurvy. We met on the 29th of the month, the Iroquois, at the extremity of a cape which extends into the lake on the west bank. They had come to fight. Meanwhile, the entire night was spent in dancing and singing on both sides, with endless insults and other talk as how little courage we had, how feeble a resistance we should make. Ours also were not slow in retorting. They came at a slow pace toward us with a dignity and assurance which greatly amused me. Having 3 chiefs at their head, I rested my musket against my cheek and aimed direct at one of the 3 chiefs. With the same shot, 2 fell to the ground, and one of their men was so wounded that he died some time later. I had loaded my musket with 4 balls. The Iroquois were greatly astonished that 2 men had been so quickly killed. This caused great alarm among them. After gaining victory, our men amused themselves by taking a great quantity of Indian corn and some meal, also their armor. After eating sumptuously, dancing and singing, we returned 3 hours after with the prisoners. The spot where this attack took place is Lake Champlain. And so, with this account, we have an inkling of the future of the warfare and capitulation of the conquered in the forthcoming development of the United States.